Hi, Matt.
Hi.
We are at the Ultimate Empire Showdown.
Yeah.
This is your first one.
It is.
What do you think?
Man, it is really cool. It is really, really cool. We're sort of in a weird side room right now, but the main area is chaotic enough that we had to come out to the main side room to be able to do this interview. So.
All right, so you guys have had two really major announcements today.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the first, which real quick. Yeah, the 6-month player roadmap, or the 6-month roadmap for the game.
Yeah.
So, what do you feel about that?
I'm really excited about it. To me, the level of developer community interaction we've had on this game has been one of the most enriching, I think, experiences of working on this project. It's been really, really cool to be able to have a sounding board and people to call bullshit on us and people to let us know when we're doing cool things and doing bad things. So many times when you're working on a game, you work on it for years before anybody's heard of it, and then you very rarely get feedback about it while you're working on it. So the level of community interaction that we had throughout beta really prompted us to want to figure out how we could take that to the next level, and that's sort of the genesis of where Roadmap came from.
Okay, so just a little clarification for the people at home. Roadmap actually has what kind of seems like a little bit of Reddit functionality that allows players to either upvote or downvote topics for the month, possibly get them pushed to the back burner and bring other topics to the forefront.
Right, yeah, so Reddit is sort of like 80%, or Reddit, Roadmap is sort of like 80% Reddit and 20% White House.gov petitions.
Okay.
So players eventually, not right now, with the 6-month plan, we just released it with the voting stuff in there so we could figure out which ones of these things are popular, which ones people are interested in, and also get the comments on it, most importantly. Be able to go and read people's ideas for ways to extrapolate on the ideas or add to or remove from some of those ideas. It's kind of on a specialized forum page. But eventually we're going to be setting up player submission too. Players are going to be able to submit their own ideas, discuss those ideas, and ones that are really popular and fit in with kind of our overall direction for where the game is going might just get pulled straight over into the schedule and worked on as new features for the game. So it's a two-part thing. It's here's some insight into the things that we're building, and here's input into how we're building them, what we're building, and what the future of the game really is.
Okay, it actually leads me to something else before the second announcement. Last Command Center, you guys actually introduced a new feature. It was work in progress.
Yeah.
So this actually shows the players what happens with the idea and how it goes about being created.
Yeah, that's a really cool serial that we're going to kind of do with Command Center, where you'll get to see the progression of these items as they're getting created over the course of multiple episodes. One of the things that I think a lot of people miss or don't understand very well who don't work in games is how long sometimes things take to do. You would be amazed. It takes weeks to make a new gun model. It takes a really long time to make something like this. That's not just something that someone cranks out in a day.
So Trammell just doesn't draw that up and it's in production the next day?
Well, Trammell might draw it up and it might be in production the next day, but it won't be finished with production the next day if we want it to look good. And we want it to have proper animations and have these different pieces that we can put together and have the iron sights work properly. Making a weapon is a long-term process for us, and a lot of times people are just like, well, it's just a model and some data, it should just go in the game in 2 to 3 days. Even people internally at our company have that kind of opinion sometimes. So we wanted to do the work in progress thing as sort of a way for people to see what the time scale on creating some of these things are. And the roadmap kind of gives people that same idea too.
It's really so Smedley will leave you alone, isn't it?
Well, John is one of the people who he gets it. He's worked in games so long that he understands that things take a while, and things are never fast enough for any of us.
Okay.
Things are never fast enough for me. Things are never fast enough for you. Things are never fast enough for anybody involved in video games, right? The players want things faster. The developers want things faster. But if you want quality, things take time.
So that takes us to the second large announcement today. SOE announced that Planetside 2 was partnering, or SOE's partnering with MLG for Planetside 2 to actually transition more into an esport.
Yeah.
And I know you've talked in the past previously about having 2 of the pillars within the game already.
Yeah.
And partnering with MLG will allow you to flush out that third pillar.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, the last thing that we needed, the 2 pillars that I talked about a lot were a truly competitive gameplay experience and a really exciting viewership experience. So we know we have 2 of those things already in spades in Planetside 2, so it naturally makes sense for us to move towards having the
I think we missed what the 2 pillars were.
Oh, the 2 pillars, because of the post-production piece. All right, so the 2 pillars are a truly competitive gameplay, truly competitive multiplayer gameplay, and a compelling viewership experience, right?
Okay.
So if you have the competitive gameplay, you have the compelling viewership experience, you have what it takes to be able to make an esport. Now, what exactly that esport looks like compared to esports that you might be used to seeing could be as different as baseball and golf, right? That's going to necessarily be a much different implementation not only from who's sitting on stage playing the game, because you can't have 500 guys sitting up there, but also just from like a viewership experience, from a time of how long it takes to watch it. So it's exciting, but it's going to be, it's going to be really cool to grow that aspect of the game.
So how is your job different now, 4 months after release, than it was, say, 6 months ago when you were still in a pre-production game that wasn't out for live servers, where you have, hundreds of thousands of people playing on?
That's a good question. It's still very urgent. I think we approach things with as much, if not more, of a sense of urgency now than we did before the game launched. Obviously, when you're launching a game, you know that you're approaching a date that the game needs to be finished on, so you're working on buttoning up a lot of different things. When you're working on a live game, it allows you a little bit more freedom to say, hey, we really want to spend 6 months making this awesome and not be as worried about the clock. But at the same time, we have a lot of features that we know need to be in the game really soon for us to be able to keep people not only interested in the game, but excited about the things that are coming. So there's still a great sense of urgency to it. I think in terms of community interaction, we've been pretty much doing the same stuff that we were doing pre-launch, and I'm happy about that. I think the biggest thing is now we can start piecing in and really prioritizing different long-term features, some of which we needed to deprioritize prior to launch because we knew that our launch date wasn't sufficient enough for us to be able to get those features in a good enough state. So now we're not as stressed out about, hey, we know we want to have this system. We know it's going to take 4 months. We need to get it done in 3 weeks. What can we get done in 3 weeks that's close as possible to the 4 months? Now we can actually spend the 4 months to do it the right way.
Okay. And speaking of community, unfortunately not everything we get back from the community is in a positive light. Planetside 2 is a shooter, and by nature, it has graphical violence in an animated form.
Sure.
And Mr. Smedley was recently called before Congress to answer to the House. And we have different politicians like California State Senator Leland Yee, who recently went on record and stated that, and this was to the San Francisco Chronicle, that gamers just got to quiet down. Gamers have no credibility in this argument. This is all about their lust for violence and the industry's lust for money. This is a billion-dollar industry. This is about their self-interest. How do you respond to critics like that?
Well, typically I don't, but it's always a flavor of the month thing that you're going to blame for whatever violent acts are happening. It's probably 600 years ago, classical music was this thing that was destroying society and causing people to not be, as religiously adherent as they needed to be, and therefore that's why the Black Plague happened. People are always blaming entertainment of some sort, rock and roll, movies, video games. It's easier to find a simple solution than it is to accept that some things are more complicated than that. Okay. And the easiest simple solution is saying it's that thing's fault. But I don't fault people for that, because people in that particular instance talking about violence and society, it's a really complicated and it's a heart-wrenching thing that we have the sort of violence in our society that we do, and people are willing to do anything to not have that happen.
All right. On a more lighthearted note, this is a competition.
Right.
So you got a rooting interest. Who are you hoping to win?
Well, I'm trying to be a little bit neutral today, but I definitely am always going to be all about and all for the NC.
What color are those socks?
They are yellow and gold, or gold and blue.
All right.
The old gold and blue.
Well, we really appreciate your time. Good luck. Thanks for having us.